Today is the 23rd day of Teves. It is the Yahrtzeit of Rabbi Mordechai Gifter, Rosh HaYeshiva of Tel Yeshiva in Cleveland. I was fortunate to have a personal relationship with the Rosh HaYeshiva through my family, and I wanted to share a story with you that I was there personally to witness. When my father came to visit once, it had been a few weeks since my sister had a baby, and Rabbi Gifter asked about the family, and my father mentioned the new granddaughter. "What's her name?" asked Rosh HaYeshiva. My father replied, "Alexandra." So Rabbi Gifter says, "Oh, a Yiddish nomen, a Jewish name." Rebbe Gifter, she should live and be well, said, "It's Taka Yiddish nomen," and she began to tell the story the Gemara recounts of Shimon HaTzadik, that when Alexander the Great came to Eretz Yisrael, there was a delegation of Jews who met him, and with them was Shimon HaTzadik. There had been people trying to get Alexander to destroy the Beis HaMikdash, but when he saw Shimon HaTzadik, the Kohen Gadol, he said, "This man comes to me in a dream every night before I go to battle and tells me I will be successful." And he said, "I will not destroy the Beis HaMikdash." In appreciation for that, the Jews decided that for the next year, every child that was born would be named Alexander or Alexandra. This is what the Rebbe recounted. As she did, I thought to myself, I'm a yeshiva bacher. I know the story. My father is a Talmud Chacham. I'm guessing he knows the story. And I'm pretty sure the Rosh HaYeshiva also knows the story. And yet, Reb Gifter sat there paying attention, listening. And when she finished, she said, "Yasher koyach, Rebbe, thank you so much for sharing that." And it taught me a great lesson. Here was a man who was one of the greatest of his generation, who would give fiery lectures that would boggle the mind. His brilliance and his depth in Torah learning were astounding. His hasmada, his diligence, his avos HaTorah were tremendously outstanding as well. And yet, when the Rebbetzin, his wife, said a story that he knew, he gave her the full attention she deserved, and he appreciated what she shared with him. It taught me a lesson as well. This coming Monday, the 28th day of Teves, will be the Yahrtzeit of Rabbi Elya Meir Bloch, also Rosh Yeshiva of Tel Yeshiva in Cleveland. When he was fundraising for the yeshiva in Europe, he was caught here during the war, and he opened up a yeshiva in Cleveland. Why he chose that is a story for another day. Rabbi Elya Meir has a fantastic Dvar Torah on this parsha. In Parshas Vaera, it says, "Hu Aaron and Moshe." These are Aaron and Moshe who Hashem sent to take out the Jews. It continues, "Hema Medabim El Paro Melech Mitzrayim Hotzi Yisrael Mitzrayim Hu Moshe v'Aaron." So Rashi comments over here on Hu Moshe v'Aaron. He says, "Heim b'shlichusam v'tzidchosam mitchila v'atzof." They remained on their mission in their righteousness from beginning to end. Rabbi Elya Meir asked the question, well, of course, if Hashem gives you a mission, you are going to focus on it and you're going to carry it out. From beginning to end, they're going to complete the mission. You don't think he's going to stop in the middle. Why is that a praise of Moshe and Aaron that Rashi must point out to us? That they remained in their mission and their righteousness the entire time. Says the Rosh HaYeshiva Rabbi Elya Meir, sometimes a person can start an organization, a school, and there's a purpose for it. And then there comes a time when the purpose is gone. There's no need for this institution. And yet, the person can't let go of it because his identity has been subsumed into that organization. When Moshe and Aaron went to Paro, the more embroiled they became in the discussions with Paro, the more he refused to let the Jews go, they could have said, he's impinging on my honor. I am upset he's ignoring what I have to say. But they didn't. Throughout, Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron were focused on fulfilling the words of Hashem. If Hashem said today, stop, leave, go home, they would have done it. They weren't personally involved because it's not about me. It's about what I can do for another. So this lesson of humility that I saw in Rabbi Gifter was born out in the words of the Rosh Yeshiva Rabbi Meir, of understanding our place in the world. But let me add a little bit more. Also, on Monday, the 28th of Teves, it's the Yahrtzeit of Harav Abba Zalka Gewurtz, my grandfather, who was the vice president in the yeshiva in Cleveland for over 40 years, after having a full career as a rabbi for over 25 years. How did he become friendly with the gifters? How is it that my father had the relationship that he has and had with the Gifter family? It goes back to 1941. The city of Waterbury, Connecticut was looking for a rabbi. And it came down to two final candidates. One, Rabbi Mordechai Gifter. He was the Rav of a small shtibel in Baltimore at the time. The other, Rabbi Seymour Gewurtz of Abba Zalka, who was the rabbi in Bradley Beach, New Jersey. And my grandfather heard from one of the board members that a decision had been made and he'd gotten the job. He said to the man about Reb Gifter, this man is a jewel. If you can get him, chop him. Besides, I have a job already, pays me enough. He needs it more than I do. Apparently the shtibel in Baltimore wasn't sufficient to fulfill Reb Gifter's needs. And in fact, the shul hired Rabbi Gifter. Upon hearing the story, Reb Gifter said, if someone was more concerned about my parnasa than his own, he must be a very special individual and I've got to get to know him better. They, in fact, began a friendship that lasted over 60 years until the Rosh Yeshiva's passing, or nearly 60 years. And my father spent many hours and days and weeks in the Gifter home, and I was fortunate, as my brother was, other parts of our family, to have that relationship. But what we see from all of these is that caring about someone else and not about myself is what brings a person the geula. It brings a person to the way Hashem wants him to be. Whether it was the Rosh Yeshiva appreciating the fact that his Rebbetzin wanted to share something, whether it was the fact that Moshe and Aaron, as Rabbi Meir so beautifully says, understood that their job wasn't to be worried about themselves, but to be worried about the covenant of Hashem, to be worried about the Bnei Yisrael. And as my grandfather was more worried about someone else's parnasa than his own. In fact, in 1945, when Reb Gifter moved to Cleveland, my grandfather did get the job in Waterbury, where he stayed until 1969 before going to Cleveland. The lesson from these three great men, whose Yahrtzeits are all coming together in the next few days, is that in these days when it is cold, the best thing we can do is bring a little more warmth to the world.